What's up, guys? Today's lesson is on a very chill sea creature, the nurse shark. I'd even argue it's probably one of the most chillest sharks around, besides maybe leopard sharks. The nurse shark's scientific name is Ginglimastoma serratum. The genus Ginglimastoma can be separated into two parts, coming from the Greek words ginglimus, meaning hinge, and stoma, meaning mouth, altogether meaning hinged mouth. This might be referring to how the corner of its mouth has a hinged appearance. The species serratum comes from Latin, meaning having tendrils or curled ringlets, which, in this case, refers to what are called barbels here. These things do have a function, but I'll talk about them in a bit.
Yeah, you better.
However, its common name nurse shark doesn't have a definitive answer for its origin, but the most likely theory is that the nurse part of its name comes from the Old English word for seafloor shark, purse. Another theory was noted by Thomas Linney Weaver and Richard Backus in The Natural History of Sharks, that, quote, possibly, some bygone observer watched a shark giving birth to live young and thought the shark was giving nurse. Yeah, it's giving nurse. The nurse shark also belongs to the order Erectolobiformes, which are just carpet sharks. These guys get their name from their intricate patterns on their skin, resembling a fancy woven carpet. The nurse shark has an average length of around 8 feet and an average weight of around 200 pounds. Its max length is around 10 feet and weighs up to 240 pounds. An adult nurse shark is brown on top in some way, either being yellow-brown or gray-brown, while the underside of its body is lighter, being whitish, resulting in a type of camouflage called countershading. It can also have small dark spots on its body as a juvenile, but it's possible it won't have any. The nurse shark's basic body structure has rounded pectoral fins, 2 rounded dorsal fins similar-ish in size, and being decently farther behind the pectoral fins compared to other fishes, as well as 2 pelvic fins, an anal fin, and a long caudal fin, though it doesn't have a distinct lower lobe like in more well-known sharks. The caudal fin can even make up over a fourth of its total length. The nurse shark's eyes are very small, and the mouth is also in front of its eyes, giving it a flat, wide head. Its teeth are also similar in both top and bottom jaws, which are small and packed in multiple flat rows that curve backwards. Its most distinguishing feature are these whisker-like things between its nostrils, the barbels. These are actually fleshy organs that have taste buds. What the nurse shark will do with them is drag the barbels along the ocean floor in order to find prey. The nurse shark can be found in the warm waters off the coast of the eastern and western Atlantic Ocean and the eastern Pacific Ocean, which is why it's sometimes called the Atlantic nurse shark.
Well, I don't call it that.
In the eastern Atlantic, it ranges from Cabo Verde to Gabon, and is rarely seen in North France. In the western Atlantic, it ranges from Rhode Island to southern Brazil, including the Caribbean, and in the eastern Pacific, it ranges from Baja California to Peru. Within these areas, the nurse shark often lies at the bottom of the seafloor in shallow waters on the continental shelf, or the insular shelf of an island. It's commonly seen in ocean sandflats, channels, rocky areas, and around coral reefs, while juveniles can also be seen around mangrove islands. These are at depths usually up to 35 meters, but the nurse shark can be found as deep as 130 meters. That's during the day though. At night, it typically moves to even shallower waters less than 20 meters deep. It is a nocturnal animal, so it'll often find shelter in crevices, caves, and under ledges during the day, sometimes in groups of over 30 nurse sharks leaning against or piling on top of each other. Then at night, come out to go feed on the seafloor, when it's a lot more active and actually swimming. It can kind of walk across the seafloor too, using its pectoral fins to do so, but during the day, it's often not moving. This makes it different from other sharks like the great white, which has to keep swimming to stay alive. Fun fact, the nurse shark seems to have a big preference for specific resting sites, meaning it can come back to the same daytime resting site for long periods of time. The nurse shark is an opportunistic predator that eats mostly small fish like catfishes and stingrays. It can also eat invertebrates on the seafloor like crustaceans, sea urchins, squids, and octopuses. To hunt, it'll typically move around and drag its barbels across the bottom until it finds prey. Then, the nurse shark will vacuum it with one of the strongest suction powers of any aquatic vertebrate, which is generated from its throat. Now, if the prey they eat is too big, the nurse shark can perform a suck and spit behavior or violently shake their heads to make its food smaller. The teeth are very effective in this process, crushing up food inside its mouth. Its suction feeding behavior is also likely why it can hunt small fish that rest at night but are active during the day. I mean, it makes sense. If it hits something with an instant attack, it won't have time to react and swim away. The nurse shark is ovoviviparous, so the female's eggs are fertilized and hatched in the womb, then birthed live. During the mating season, which occurs in the summer, males will approach and follow females resting on the seafloor or swimming just above it. The male will then bite one of the female's pectoral fins while also pushing at the same time, trying to turn her onto her back. This position makes it easier for the male to insert its clasper into the female's cloaca, actively bending his lower body towards it. Then eventually, after the mating is done, the couple will separate and leave, or alternatively, the male can stay motionless on the seafloor like it's recovering from mating. What sucks for the females is that generally, a large number of males will try to mate with a single female, resulting in the female having many scars and bruises from the male's bites. So in attempts to avoid mating, if not wanted, females can instead swim in shallow waters where it's hard or not possible for males to flip them over. But if the female does want to mate, she'll arch her body toward the male partner and cup her pelvic fin. They engage in mutual paternity though, so more than one male can fertilize the female's eggs. This behavior promotes genetic variation, which allows uniqueness for each pup and prevents populations from being killed by a single disease. The mating cycle of the nurse shark is biennial, so since the gestation period after mating is about 6 months, females can take up to 18 months to produce new mature eggs for breeding. In birth, the female typically has around 20 to 30 pups, each being fully developed and about 8 inches to a foot long. However, the mother doesn't care for the pups post-birth, so they live on their own using shallow coral reefs, rocky areas, and mangrove islands as their nursery habitat where they can hide from predators. There aren't any species that normally prey on nurse sharks though, but larger sharks have been known to sometimes eat them. This includes lemon sharks and tiger sharks whose stomachs have had nurse shark remains found in, and bull sharks and great hammerheads who have been observed attacking them. Now in ideal conditions, nurse sharks can live to over 40 years in the wild, reported by this study by scientists in the dry tortugas, which is much longer than what was previously known, being 25 years. According to the IUCN Red List, the nurse shark is classified as an endangered species. As a whole, populations have been decreasing, but it's in the Western Atlantic where they face the most threats, such as in the Caribbean and South America. In the Caribbean especially, it's valued for its high quality hide, which makes some super tough and durable leather. Fortunately, although it is edible, its fins and meat aren't really that valuable, it's just the hide. In terms of research however, the nurse shark does very well in captivity being a chill shark. Some of its qualities are how well it tolerates capture, handling, and tagging, making it an important and great species for shark research. Now regarding its reputation as a chill shark, it's generally not aggressive and usually just swims away when approached by humans. Most attacks on humans are provoked in some way, like from being intentionally disturbed to accidentally stepped on, but unprovoked attacks have been reported. In these instances, its bite has a strong, vice-like grip that can do some serious damage, and sometimes the nurse shark won't let go and you'll need surgical intervention. But anyway, that's it for today's lesson. Subscribe for more fish facts, and I'll see you next time.